What's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. New video. Um, before I before I get started with the video, I want to remind you guys that last week, Fig and I we had a guest on Food and Felons, Mr. Caleb Pinkett. Thank you, Caleb. And I'm going to go ahead and try to put the link. I think it goes right here. I'm going to try to put the link up so you can click on it and go and watch the video. I think it was a great video. If you're a Tupac fan, if you're a DMX fan, if you're a Cobra Kai fan, if you're a Nipsey fan, then go over there because Caleb met these people, right? Caleb's the producer of Cobra Kai. He didn't meet that. That's not a person. He's the producer of that show. He has a lot of personality, great energy, and I think it was a wonderful interview. And so do me a favor, if you haven't already, go ahead and click on that link I'm going to put up. Subscribe to Food and Felons, and hopefully you enjoy that interview. Now, with that said, today's topic is going to be heavy. I've pretty much told this story before. However, I know that I get new subscribers, right? And not all the new subscribers go back in the catalog and see older videos. And this morning, my friend Junior, he lost his mother in a car accident, unfortunately. And he asked me, what were your thoughts? What was going through your mind when you found out you lost your mom, right? And I asked him, well, did you see the video? I already did a video on that. And then it just struck me where, you know what? Let me go back into it. Let me retell this story for you guys, right? I'm sure it's not going to be, I think I went into more of the stuff. Like, I don't know. I'm just going to talk today, right? I want to talk about that because I firmly believe that nothing happens just, as a coincidence. Everything happens for a reason. Junior asking me that this morning, maybe he needed something and maybe somebody else needs something. And maybe this story that I have and what I went through, you'll see it. It's for a reasoning. Somebody needs it. Okay, so I am my mother's only child. My dad has a daughter, my sister, with another woman. So I was my mother's only child. And we didn't have, unfortunately, I don't have good memories with my mom. Doesn't mean I don't love my mom. I love my mom. That's my mom. I wish, she was still around so that we could have created better memories after I became a better person, right? My mom was raised in the LA foster care system. Very, very, she wasn't raised in a good way. Exactly 3 months after she turned 16, I was born. My mom didn't know how to be a parent. She didn't know how a parent is supposed to love a child because she never had that in her life. She didn't have much love in her life. My mother was a very, very beautiful woman and just went through a lot of shit, right? So the riot happened in New Folsom. The riot happened in Pelican Bay in 2000. Right, in February of 2000, and when that riot happened, it was world news. It was on the nightly news. It was on the Today Show, Good Morning America, everything, man. They were showing footage of it later. They made it a big thing. And my mom, not knowing what happened to me, knowing that I was on that yard, my mom knowing the kind of person that I was, it put her in a state of panic, anxiety, and depression, which led to, in June 14th, my mom was found dead. She had took her own life. And I know it was worry over me, not being able to handle it, and guilt because I told a story where when I was a kid, I got away with everything, man, as far as the cops, right? And one day, on a petty vandalism charge, shit I didn't even do. I was there, but I didn't do, right? The victim didn't want to press charges, and my mom told the cops when the cops brought me home, I want to talk to the victim, right? And she told him, I want you to press charges against my son. And she thought that I would learn a lesson. And I remember when I was getting cuffed up, I looked at my mom and I told her, you just ruined my fucking life. And those words never left my mom's heart and her mind. I regret those words because every time I went to see like I said, my mom was from LA. My mom was from Los. And in LA, you do certain crimes, they're like, fuck that. Tell your parents to come pick you up. Whereas in Santa Barbara, oh, hell nah. They pick up everything. That's what they look at as money. Oh, yeah, we're going to book them. And she didn't know that. And so when I went for that petty vandalism thing, I was constantly in juvenile hall. I was taken from the home. I was thrown in a group home. I went to camp. I went to YA. Got out for 5 months, fighting the death penalty. And every step of the way, my mom felt it was her fault. And I would tell her, nah. Even in YA, I would tell her when she was always feeling guilty and depressed about it, I would tell her, nah, I make my own decisions. You didn't make none of these. You didn't break these laws. I did. You know what I mean? Like, don't worry about it. But I was a dick. I had a lot of anger towards my parents. I had a lot of anger towards the world, right? So it was June 14th. Well, I don't remember. I can't say that's when she passed. I don't remember exactly what day it was, but it's complete all-out war. If the doors crack, it's going down. And everybody is strapped. Everybody has their knives on them at all times. Showers, when you sleep, it's right there. It doesn't matter. It's at hand and you're going to use it. Everybody knows it. Everybody's willing to get it, right? So my door rattles. So me and my Sally, we, like, what the fuck? So I go to the door. And the tower cop says, hey, the counselor wants to see you. And this reinforces my belief that everything happens for a reason, right? Normally we say, nah, fuck the counselor. The counselor can come to my pad, right? Just like a 115 hearing, fuck that hearing. Find me guilty. We don't participate in that, right? But because of the lockdown, February, March, April, May, we've been locked down 4 months already, I said, man, I feel like going for a walk. So I said, yeah, I'll go to the counselor's office. I thought it was a counselor's office in the rotunda, right? I don't know what it's for. But I did a strange thing. Not for one, I said, yeah, I'll go talk to the counselor, right? But for some reason, I took my knife and I handed it to my cellie. And I told him, hey, hold on to this, Holmes. I'll be right back. And he's like, are you sure? And I said, yeah. So he takes my strap and puts it somewhere. They come and escort me, right? They come to escort me. But instead of going to the counselor's office, we're going by the canteen where the hobby shop is. They have, they should do committee in there. I'm like, hey, where are we going? And he goes, you're going to see the counselor. But I could see that the COs aren't really, like, there's some tension in them, right? Now, one of the COs that was escorting me, I don't remember his name. One was CO Preston. The other one, I don't remember his name. I could not stand that cop. I told a story about him before. I'm not going to get into it, but I could not stand that cop. He was a rookie cop, and he had a lot to learn, and I just didn't like him, right? So they walked me over there, and then at the door, there was a nurse right at the door. And in front of me right here was to my left. To my left as I walked in was the nurse. There's two desks. The one to the left, there was a counselor there, a female, right? And they're uncuffing me, and then they tell me to sit at the table, at the desk to the right next to the counselor. And she goes, I have some stuff for your doc hearing. They used to do doc hearings. I don't know if they still do them. After you've been down 7 years, you go to the documentary hearing where the board's going to tell you, hey, you're a fuck up. You need to stop fucking up. It's nothing, right? So I'm like, oh, man, it's for this? And then I'm signing the papers, but I'm watching everybody, right? And I can feel the tension, and I'm like, why is this nurse in here? Maybe she was, chopping it up with the counselor before I got there. And then she tells me, the counselor says, I'm going to make a phone call right now, and the person on the other end of the line is going to be your dad. And I said, what you mean gonna be my dad? I already have a dad. And she had the phone in her hand, and she looked up at the CO, and her hand was shaking. And she said, I hate doing these things, or I hate something like that, but that she hated doing what she was doing, right? I'm like, what the fuck? So I get handed the phone, right? And my dad's crying. And my dad is one of those Mexican men that's just super macho. You don't show your emotions. Fuck it. You be a man about everything. And my dad's crying. I'm like, what's up? And he says, she's gone, mijo. And I said, who's gone? And he says, your mom. Now, I've already talked about it a little bit, here and there about, I was into the politicking at the time. So I knew that I would be able to, my mom was, I think 41, maybe 42 at the time. I think she was about to be 42. So she was young. So I knew, well, whatever just happened to my mom, it's not going to be natural, right? So immediately I want to know who did it, who was involved, right? I'm smoking something. I'm going to send somebody. They're dead, right? I said, how'd it happen? And he told me she took some pills and put a bag over her head, right? And I was like, fuck. Immediately, I had no one to retaliate against. All the immediate anger that I had, that I was ready to unleash, it had nowhere to go. So I immediately, as quickly as I could, tried to get off the phone because I knew what I wanted to do was rush that CO that I didn't like. I couldn't see him, but I knew he had to be behind CO Preston. CO Preston was the one that stayed at the door, right? Now remember, during war, we take our knives everywhere. What the fuck made me hand my knife to my cellie? So I hung up, I stood up to walk out, and the nurse asked me if I wanted anything, I don't know, some kind of mental health shit or some shit. And I was like, nah, I'm good, man. Hold on. And I try to walk straight. I'm looking for the cop. I'm going to fuck this cop up. Had I had my knife, I would have used it. But I didn't. And all I knew is I'm hurting. I'm fucking something off right now. And I stepped past Preston, and the cop wasn't there. I did not see him for the rest of the night. Anyways, so I went back to the cell. I'm going to skip the part about the CO. The only humanity I ever saw or felt in my whole prison term was walking back to that unit where, I'll tell you, where the CO said, man, let's just sit down. And I want you guys to understand, at this time, B facility was still an active crime scene. There were raincoats that were ripped up and bloody all over the floor. There were T-shirts. There were blue shirts. There was pants that full of blood. You could see where the bullets kicked up the dirt. It was an active crime scene. And there me and CO Preston are. And he tells me, sit down on this table in the middle of all this fucking destruction and violence. And he asked me, what happened? And I told him. And he tells me, my heart is hurting for you. And I looked at him. He was sitting on my right. I'm cuffed up. I look at him, and I saw his eyes were very sincere. And I cried. I was like, there is no one, all these vatos that I'm running with, these vatos that I'm willing to kill and die for, not one of them will have that look in their eyes for me, for my family. So I went back to the cell, and I can honestly say that I don't know how, but I became a devil. I became the devil from that day, probably for the next 5.5 years, I was I don't know how to explain it. But, and this is sickening to say, but prior to this incident, I was always somehow, some way in the mix, right? With my Sally or whatever. And I always knew when somebody was going to get hit, who was going to get hit and who was going to hit them, right? And I would position myself. I would make sure that whenever it went down, I was going to be able to watch it. And I thought it was funny. Keeping it real. That's how prison is. I thought it was funny. Then when I lost my mom, I went even deeper into the politicking. I went deeper into the criminal mindset, but I hated it. I had no satisfaction. I didn't think any of it was funny. I began to notice, prior I didn't give a fuck. After I noticed, like, when somebody would get down, they didn't have it coming, I'd be like, that was kind of fucked up. But it was better him than me, right? I remember immediately after, the news and homies would come up to me and they were like, hey, Holmes, hey, Spencer, I know what you're going through. Every time somebody told me I know what you're going through, I knew that they were trying to be cool and I wanted to whack them. You don't know what the fuck I'm going through. In my head, it was, you don't know what the fuck I'm going through. You know what you got with your family. You know what your relationship with your mom is. You don't know what mine is. And to tell me I understand what you're going through, it would piss me off. I wanted to do violence on a damn near daily basis from that point on. It took me a long time, man, to understand that me telling my mom, you just fucked my life up, you just ruined my fucking life. It took me a long time to realize I'm not responsible for what my mom did. My mom had, and I'm getting into personal shit, and I know the trolls will love all this shit, right? My mom had 3 nervous breakdowns. Obviously, the third one was when she took her life. She had dealt with so much trauma throughout her childhood that sometimes her brain would have to just shut down for a minute and recuperate. I don't know. I know I've had camaradas that when we've spoken, especially after I got out, and they were like, fuck, homie, I went through the same exact shit. My mom, she had mental issues and, these things happened. And, men, like I talked about in the video the other day, we don't talk about this shit. I do. You know what I'm saying? Men want to be, we got to be tough. We can't be emotional. Bullshit. That's a fucking cancer in your heart. That's a cancer in your mind. Like I said, Junior asked for a reason. Maybe he needed to hear this story today. I know other people do. But we can't dwell on it, right? I can't bring my mom back. Nobody can. So instead, we got to appreciate who we do have. Be mindful of the words that we use, not just with our loved ones, but with anybody. With that said, everybody, please be safe, be smart, and tell the ones you love that you love them. I'm out.